Good Shabbos. I'm in transit going on my way to the Kinnis HaShluchim, the conference of emissaries of the Rebbe from around the world. I don't know about you, but I many times look at a headline and have an opinion about what the article is all about. And the headline is quite significant. The Parsha's name is the headline of a portion that's meant to tell you about the theme of the portion. It seems strange that this week's Torah portion, Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, talks about issues that would seem superficially as the opposite of the life of Sarah. First of all, she's passed away. Abraham looks for a burial plot for her. Then thereafter, they move on. Yitzchak has to get married. He gets married and he finds a replacement for his mother in Rivka. And she's called that way. He's comforted after the loss of his mother. So until this point, Yitzchak is mourning his mother. And once he marries Rivka, he's comforted. So that, again, Sarah is removed more from her reality in this world by this event. Later on, we even read that Abraham gets remarried and has 6 children from another woman. How is this all part of the life of Sarah? But as everything else, when we look a little bit deeper, we can see that all these issues express a focus on her life rather than the opposite. What do I mean? In the lifetime of Sarah, Abraham and Sarah had 2 distinct perspectives. They had, shall we say, a disagreement. What's more important? Abraham focused on the universe. Abraham's name is Av Hamoim Goyim, the father of many nations. Abraham was interested in bringing the message of monotheism to all of humanity. The 7 Noahide laws should be kept by humanity. He married a woman called Hagar of Egyptian descent. Yes, she had a child with her. And when Sarah tells him last week that he has to send Hagar and Ishmael away, Abraham did not want to do so. And they actually had a debate that Abraham refused to send them away until God himself had to come tell Abraham that whatever Sarah tells you, you should listen to it. You should be sending her away. So what you had here is Sarah was focused on her family, on her children, on the Jewish people, on Yitzchak. And Abraham saw himself as a universalist. And that went on until Sarah passed away. When Sarah passed away, maybe we could say that during Sarah's lifetime, she was concentrating on the most important thing, which was the continuation of the Jewish family. Once she passed away, now Abraham stepped into her shoes, and that became his entire focus. And so what does he first do? He finds a burial plot in Israel belonging to who? To the Jewish people, to Yitzchak. It's a place where Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yaakov and Leah are buried. And it's the first place in Israel that the Jewish people have a right to, because it was actually bought by Abraham for 100 times its value, because he wanted no question as to the authority of his, or the acceptance of his ownership of this piece of land. That becomes part of Eretz Yisrael, land of the Jewish people. Then we read about Yitzchak finding a wife who was similar to Sarah, his mother, and the miracles that happened in the lifetime of Sarah returned after Rivka after Yitzchak marries Rivka. Again, a continuation of the values, the kind of person Sarah was in her next generation. And even as Abraham marries another woman and has 6 children with her, at the end of the day, when he has to write his will, he gives everything over to Yitzchak. The others, he gives gifts and sends them off. But Yitzchak is the one who becomes the continuation of the Jewish people. So in a sense, Sarah is more the mother of the Jewish people than Abraham is the father of the Jewish people. And that is expressed in the themes of this week's Torah portion. Because life is expressed by the eternity of life. And what I mean by eternity of life is the principles and the values that a person lives with, that continues after their passing. That's when you know they're alive. They're still alive because what they live for continues after them. Sarah was still alive because what she lived for continued after her. As I'm going to Rebbe's a kinus of shluchim from around the world, 28 years after the Rebbe's physical presence is no longer here. The Gimel Tammuz, the growth of shluchim and shluchas and the messages of the Rebbe continue on. It's remarkable. There's going to be 6,500 people, shluchim and guests at a banquet. That is the largest number we've ever had. And the work of the Rebbe continues in huge ways in every area, whether it be in scholarship and study and learning, whether it be in love and care for another Jew, whether it be in the messages to all of humanity, to appreciate the 7 laws of Noah. All this continues on and growing in a massive way. So the Rebbe lives on, and we look forward to the time that the Rebbe's wish, the ultimate wish, coming of Mashiach, is fulfilled in its fullest. Like then with the following story. One of the great supporters of Chabad in New Jersey is the fellow was called David Chase. When the Rebbe turned 79, and David came to the Rebbe for a visit, the Rebbe says, I'm going to ask you something unusual. Normally you give a birthday present. I'm going to ask you for a present. I want you to start putting on tefillin. And Mr. Chase accepted that. He bought a pair of tefillin for his home, for his office, for his car. And he would put it on every day. One day he was going to a trip to Poland. This is in the early 90s. It was a business trip. Took a whole delegation on a private jet to Poland under Lakula, so at the time, for business. Anyway, 4 years later, he gets a call from one of the participants on the trip, a non-Jewish fellow, who says to him, I want to tell you something that changed my life. You got up in the middle of the flight. You were the leader of this business trip, of this delegation. In the middle of the flight, middle of this business trip, you get up and you put on tefillin and prayed. And I looked at you, said, wow, look at the courage, look at the principles that this man lives by. Do I live by principles? What am I doing on a spiritual sense? And that moment changed my life forever. So we could be rabbis, we could be business people, we could all create a message that ever wanted us to, bringing godliness into this world, with the ultimate coming up, with the ultimate being the imminent coming of Mashiach. Good job.